Hello, hello, hello. We're going to have a lovely little conversation today about how to choose compassion over conflict. So, we're going to get Becky Spencer to come on in and join me for this lovely conversation. And I will quickly introduce myself. So, I'm Claire Panshad. I am a holistic health coach. I'm going to bring Becky in. And I guide women to help them to create a life that is living their healthiest life, living the best version of themselves, and doing it with, hello, Becky.
Hello.
Doing it by reducing their toxic load. So I'm going to let Becky go ahead and introduce herself. Hey there.
Hi there. Can you hear me okay?
Yep, I can hear you. Oh, good. Can you hear me good?
Yep, I can hear
Good.
you good too.
Good.
Oh, okay. So I'll apologize right now in case my dog barks or if the man painting my roof makes a lot of noise. So it's that kind of day.
Nice.
So, okay, about me. So I'm a holistic health coach as well. I didn't hear all of your intro, but I come from a place of focusing on a functional medicine basis. I studied functional medicine after I got my certification. And it literally looks for the root cause of what's going on in someone's body. So I focus on people that need help, like maybe they've gone to like a bunch of different doctors and they can't figure out what's going on, and they're inflamed and they're gaining weight and they have brain fog and all these lovely things that we deal with. So that's what I help them figure out how that came to be. And as you know, it's, getting back to basics and being a health detective. So mostly I call myself a health detective.
Yeah, and it is detective work, really, because there's so many things that are thrown at us, and it's so many different directions. It could be food related, it could be stress related, it could be sleep, anything, all the ways that we do all the things, right? So
all of the above.
Exactly. So today we're going to talk really and hone in about conflict and how conflict has kind of taken over our world a bit, right? And how you and I are perceiving it, which I'm sure is how everyone's perceiving it in a lot of ways, but how we've kind of faced it ourselves, because let's face it, we're human, and we're still living in this whole world with everybody else and feeling the same things, and basically how we can, what we've done to help ourselves and what kind of advice we can give to help others to really move past the area of conflict that we're in and move to a place of more compassion. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it's a really important conversation for us to have, right? So what would you say that some of the things that you've experienced where conflict where conflict has kind of shown up for you kind of lately?
Do you have, just real quick, do you have the headphones in, or you're just doing it off your
just
regular? Okay,
yeah.
So I'm gonna have this work. Can you hear me okay without them in?
Yep.
Okay, cool. All right, let me just get you situated. Okay, stay. So, okay. Well, I have to say, for me personally, it has been a roller coaster the last year of emotions and what the heck is going on and where do we go from here and why is this happening and is this true? And to be honest, also, I'm taking the chance to dig deep within myself to figure out, okay, why am I feeling these feelings and what do I need to do about them? So, I think we're all basically in a big triggering mode right now. Like the world is triggering us in such a big way. And you have to kind of take the chance, the opportunity to say, why? Why is this affecting me the way it is? And, in respect to compassion over conflict, if you are more conflicted and if you are getting angry at people for doing things differently than you, where's that coming from, right?
Absolutely. I kind of feel like right now we're in conflict we're kind of questioning how we should do things because we're doing things differently than we've ever done before. Questioning what we should do, what's the best thing for ourselves, what's the best thing for our family. We're just questioning so much that we've never had to really question before. It's never been put right in front of us to question. So we're in conflict with ourselves constantly, but we're also in conflict with the people around us, because they have different views, they have different situations, and they have different ideas and beliefs, and what's guiding them is totally what's guiding us. And I really feel that we're at a place where we need to understand that we're all in this together, and that's what we basically we believed at first. We understand that we are all together. Sorry, if there's any feedback, or it sounds like there might be a little bit.
You're cutting out a little bit, but not too bad.
But yeah, so I don't understand. It's a hard thing, because when we first started all of this, we were all in this together, and now we're so one way or another, so divided. And we need to get back to this unity. We need to get back to, we are all in this together. And how can we, help each other and help ourselves along in this process, right? And that's where I think we're at, really. So one thing I want to talk about is, like, how does conflict show up? How are the things that we're noticing for ourselves? So, like, for me, I can even feel when conflict's happening, or I see a message, like even on social media or in the news or something that I don't agree with, I get, your heart starts to race, your palms start to get sweaty, you start to just feel the anger or frustration build up within you, and then you start to feel this kind of rage. That's how I've felt. And I don't know if you felt the same sort of thing, Becky, but I think everybody has felt this. And then on top of that, there's a lot of anxiety too. Anxiety of, am I doing the right thing? Am I leaning towards the right thing? Am I going the right place? There's just tons of anxiety. There's anxiety of, am I going to have a job to go back to? Am I losing my job? Do I have income? There's so much uncertainty, right? So it's that whole anxiety that's building up that's fueling this as well. And I know you want to kind of touch on the anxiety, stuff like that as well. So I'll pass it over to you so you can kind of.
Yeah. So what you're describing really is, we have two sides to our nervous system, parasympathetic and sympathetic, and we want to be in the parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. Mm-hmm. And we're all right now, for literally the past year, in sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. All those things you just said, the sweats, the not sleeping well, the anxiety, and a lot of it for me too was like not being able to think straight, like, having this pile of work here sitting here that I need to get done, but I literally couldn't focus on it for a good amount of time. And just like dragging yourself around, it can affect your energy level, all of that. And that makes you not make good decisions. It makes you come from a place of, like you said, even rage or anger, and not seeing that person that you're angry at or you're speaking badly about, especially on social media, like the stuff that's going on social media, especially here in Bermuda, is breaking my heart. So I really today want to get the point across that, like you said to me, is these are our friends. This is our community. A lot of times it's even in the two people in the same household, and we are all in this together, and we are going to be in this community after all this. It's going to come to an end at some point, and we all have to be in this community together. So we have to find a way to come back to togetherness, and a place of everyone has everyone's back, and we can all agree to disagree, and we can all agree that we're doing what's right for us. Nobody knows what's going on behind closed doors of someone else's life. And not only that, we don't know what's going on in each other's bodies. And that's what it boils down to, if we're going to say the V word and all this, which we're going to try to stay away from. But, I think that's a key thing. And when you said that to me that day, it really struck me.
Yeah, it is. We are a community. And at the end of the day, we are, whether we're a person of this island or a person of this world, or we are literally all living the same scenario, same problems, but in different aspects. And we all have our own individual ways of viewing it, and our own individual circumstances, but we're all being affected. And it's a big thing about, I believe that, we're all grieving in some way. We're either grieving the loss of loved ones, we're grieving the lives that we used to have before. We're grieving not being able to do certain things. So if there was trips that were planned, or people if you don't live in the same country as certain people, loved ones, family members, and you haven't seen them in ages, we're grieving the things that we would normally do. Maybe even going to work and getting out, maybe even just simple little things, right?
Yeah.
So,
It's trauma.
yeah.
And unfortunately, which I said to you, I think is, I think we're going to all have PTSD from this, like post-traumatic stress disorder, where the shock waves of this will, especially in the children, is going to be felt for so long. So I think it's an opportunity now really for us to pause and dig deep and say, like I said, figure out why we're feeling these feelings, let them come through us, examine them, let them move on. And then, where do we go from here? How can we make something good from now on out of this situation? Like, how can we really embrace people, even though they are different than us, because everyone's different than us, period. Right?
Absolutely. There's no two people the same. Even twins, they're different people, right?
Yeah.
So there are no two people that are exactly the same. And we need to honor each other and respect each other. And that's what it's coming down to. I believe that we need to look at this from a place of respect and lead from the heart and not so much from the head sometimes, because we are all getting so much for our head. And like you said, we're living and working into the nervous system where we are fight or flight. And we're leaning to coping mechanisms, which we do normally, right? So that's just how we cope. We grab on that help us to feel comforted, feel reassured, things that we feel will give us some sort of comfort, right? And so sometimes that is food, sometimes that is alcohol, sometimes that is smoking, or all of the sometimes,
and a little Netflix thrown in there.
Not sleeping well, it's staying late when you could be good rest, and it's been an easy thing. Like, I never used to be someone who watched the news that much, but now in the past year we've never watched the news as much as we have, especially the American news. And it has been almost, for the longest time, it was a cornerstone. It was on all the time. And my husband and I both got to a point where we said, we need to dial this back. We need to get the information that we need and then shut it off. So we need to just take a step back and then let our own self be. Just be, not background noise. Because like you said, we're picking it. And obviously we're deciphering it, and the kids will hear it too. And I want to say, and I hope that they are, still being able to do it. They can. I mean, we've been very fortunate here that we've had, time where the kids have been in school. And the times that, actually my kids actually liked it better being in their own bodies, and there's 3 of them, so they like it together. So luckily they have each other, but that's not the case for everybody. And it becomes a stressful situation when the parents are trying to work from home, and the kids are trying to school, and we're not teachers. We don't have the patience all the time to deal with it. So
I don't know how you parents have done it with young kids. Luckily, I have teens that are pretty self-sufficient, and kudos to all of you who have had to go through this with young kids. Oh my gosh, talk about stress.
Yeah, I think you just, as parents, you just deal with it and just do what you do. But for a lot of people, it hasn't been easy.
Yeah.
Especially with jobs that are very demanding, that hasn't been an easy thing. So there's all of this kind of thrown at us, right? But we have these coping mechanisms, and that's where I even found I'm not a TV watcher. I just don't watch TV. But then I started to go, well, the times that the kids were home, homeschooling, I would stay up later because I knew I'd get up as early. I was getting up an hour later, basically. So I was like, well, I'm going to stay up another hour, 2 or 3 later at night. And I'm like, oh, this is not a good pattern. This is not. Right. It was soothing and calming for me, and it was something that I did. But I knew that it couldn't continue. It couldn't be a long-term thing because it wasn't going to be for the best benefit for myself. And if I don't get sleep, that impacts how I live my life. I'm one people that I need sleep. If I don't become a very happy person.
Right. And did you find that it caught up with you?
It wasn't too bad because I had that little leeway but yeah, I think it did in some ways. I had that leeway of, okay, well, we don't have to get up and get dressed and get the kids out of the house. We just have to get up, get dressed, and put them in front of a computer screen, iPad or whatever. And mostly with their teachers. But yeah, so it was kind of, but I mean, I let it happen for a little bit, but I'm also realizing a lot of the people that are turning to, saying, well, I don't have to get up and go into this, so maybe I'll have an extra glass of wine at night, or whatever our coping mechanisms are, we kind of lean
ice cream.
Right?
And not even the good ice cream, like the healthy ice cream, like the bad ice cream.
We all have something, at least one thing, right? At least one thing. So, and those they're helpful for a certain amount of time. And if we continue them on, and that's big, what I'm, big on how we can lean into the right habits. So let's talk about some of the habits that you and I have, or tools that you and I have used to kind of help us in this time. I'll let you go first and talk about what kind of.
A lovely friend of mine, another Claire in my life. I have a lot of Claires in my life somehow over the last few years. And funnily enough, they're all coaches. And another Claire coach said to me at the beginning of all this, what she was doing was asking herself every morning, who can I help today? And I am so grateful for her for saying that to me, because literally that's what got me through this, is asking myself, who can I help today? And I really want to put that out to everybody, because we all still need the help. I mean, we're not through this yet. We're getting to the end of it, I feel, but we got a ways to go, and there's going to need to be a lot of healing. But if you can just reach out to someone and ask how they're doing, have a conversation with someone who does have a different opinion than you. Ask some questions, come from curiosity rather than conflict, and find out what this other person's viewpoint is and what's in their life that made them, how did they get to this point, and how are they different than you, and embracing it. The other thing is moving, getting out there in nature, walking. If that's all you can do, if you can't lift weights or whatever it is, just because the stress levels just depleted your energy, get outside and walk. I mean, that's been a lifesaver for me. And we're so lucky we have beaches and railway trails and beautiful scenery that can go along with our walks, right?
Absolutely. Nature is the best nurturer.
It is so true. And I have been in nature as much as possible, even if it's in your own backyard, just sitting there, and if you are out in nature, get your feet bare and put your bare feet on the ground. If you're having a very stressful day and you really are feeling, like you can't pull yourself out of something, lay your entire body in your backyard on the grass or on the beach or whatever, on the sand. Like, grounding is so hugely important for us to get back in sync with Mother Nature and all our rhythms and circadian rhythms and everything. So yeah, those are definitely the big ones for me. I'm just gonna why don't you go, and I'll see if I have anything different than you while you're talking.
Few things on here. So obviously I lean into essential oils a lot. So I do the whole try and go outside. But essential oils, like I have them going on in the house, so I diffuse them. But I also, more so than that, I apply them onto myself, or I take some and on them. So, like, for example, doTERRA has a host of really good essential oils that help sort of kind of emotions. Neroli is a great one for stress, anxiety, very calming and soothing for the nervous system. They came up with one, like, honestly, like really maybe a year or two ago now, called Adaptive, and screen keeps going down. An Adaptive, so they have the capsule. I took one earlier today because I'm like, calm myself down. Or they have like and rollerballs, and just kind of applied onto the pulse points. So I use essential oils a lot for helping to calm me, to bring me back to balance. And the what I like to do as well is having the breath work. The breath work is so good. Even just taking a drop of oil helps me to get myself into breathing, because even though we know breathing is right, we'll do it together. Awesome. So we'll take one and we just kind of rub it over.
And it helps, I think, if you rub your hands really hard and get them warm. It smells so good. I've got transformation.
And take the rest of the oil and put it on the back of my neck and almost give myself a little neck massage while I'm there, right? Why not? You know?
It's a great idea. I also put it on the bottom of my feet because that's one of the most absorbable places, right?
It is. And even in the belly button. The belly button.
Really? I've never heard that before.
Endings around the belly button, obviously, right? So belly button as well. So you can do that, or into the belly button. Along the spine is a great area as well. So yeah, there's some great ways to apply the oils, really get them in, because oils work aromatically. So they go into the limbic system, and into the olfactory system, into the limbic system, and they have a role to play with our emotions and our mood, and they can really bring us back to balance really, really fast. So that's what I love to do, and do the breath work a lot. So there's a couple other breathing exercises that are really good. So even just sitting there, cupping the essential oil over and inhaling in and exhaling. You can use oils with yoga, meditation. You can use other breathwork techniques. So like cooling breath. So basically, it's pretend you're sipping the straw and you're going to suck in and go. And that cooling sensation, you just feel the cool air coming in, and that's a cooling breath. That's another way to do it. And one that I love that Gabby Bernstein kind of talked about when things were really, really coronavirus is just putting one hand over the forehead and the other, like your solar plexus area, into your stomach, and then closing your eyes and having a few deep breaths out. Don't you feel really comfortable by that? By your own hands, you feel like almost like really, really.
That felt good.
I love that. So those are my kind of go-to breath work. I mean, and then there's the breathe in for 5, hold for 5, release for 5.
Box breathing.
Yeah, I don't find that kind of works as well for me, but those kind of techniques I don't have to count works well for me. But there's so many of them out there that you can just find what works for you, right?
And breath, taking a deep breath and getting it down into your belly is the fastest way to get to the back to parasympathetic. Yeah. So anytime you're anxious, that's the fastest, best way. And if you're throwing essential oils in with it, that's even better.
Even better. Exactly. And the thing, what we need to realize is that when we are in the sympathetic mode, so we're in their fight or flight, our digestion shuts off, because, the whole reason our bodies are made, we weren't made with this kind of stress. We were made with the stress, running away from a tiger or something like that, and or a bear or whatever, or hunting and gathering. And so when we are in fight or flight, our digestion shuts down so that blood can flow to our limbs, flow to our brain, and we can think quick and we can act quick and run.
Right.
Digestion shuts down. But now if we're in a constant state of that, where our digestion shuts down and we are eating everything under the sun, because that's a coping mechanism, we are easily going to put on weight. We are easily going to affect our body negatively. Our body's not going to absorb nutrients.
Right.
Even if we are eating correctly, our body's not going to absorb nutrients correctly.
Right.
So, this is a big knock-on effect. We're putting ourselves in the stress mode. And so doing these tools, bring yourself back into parasympathetic nervous system, where you're like more calm, more rested, your digestion fires back up again. And breathing actually helps your digestion to fire up even better, because what makes fire? fuel, and air. Fuel and oxygen, right? So fuel
Right.
being food, and oxygen that we're getting in that's going to help rev up our metabolism and our digestion fire as well. So we want to be able to make sure that we're doing just simple things to help bring us back to balance so that we can work better. Right?
And that whole bit you talked about with the digestion and the stress hormones and all of that affects our sleep. And if we're not sleeping well, we also gain weight. I mean, I think COVID-19 is actually, people are
Like
gaining the 19 pounds.
Yeah, exactly. Like what people
So,
use in 15, COVID-19 is actually the weight we're putting on.
yeah. So, I mean, that's another reason really to try to get yourself out of the stress mode as much as possible. Because I have to admit, I've even gained weight through all this. It could have been the ice cream, but I'm just going to look real quick.
And the sympathetic, nervous system working together, who knows, right? But
right.
yeah.
But yeah, so the other thing too is like with moving the emotion sphere like I talked about before. So it might even be a good time to pick up journaling if you've never done it, like just to express what's going on and get it out so you don't take it out on the neighbor or the person who has a different opinion than you. And I think we're really being invited to explore, what's going on in ourselves and what needs to change. And most of all for me, what I'm seeing as a big picture thing is, where has healthcare gone and how are we taking care of ourselves? And are we just giving our power away to a pill or something else, rather than looking at what we need to do to change to be the most balanced we can be so that our body and our immune system, it can do the work. It will do the work. We just need to get out of its way and give it the chance. So unfortunately, that hasn't been the big conversation in the media like I wish it would have. And I'm happy to discuss it with anyone. I do it all the time. But I really think that's something else that, we can have a conversation with, people that think differently than us is the health conversation. And I see Katrina's written dance and scream it out. And yes, dancing in my kitchen has been huge for me through this too. So dancing, it goes along with the moving thing, right? If you can just
moving.
Yeah. We're all energy.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And this is it. Like getting the energy flowing in the right way. We're consuming so much of other people's energy and stress and conflict as well as our own, that we need to release it. We need to let it out, and we need to do things that are going to help us. And so, dance, scream it out, put good music on, put calming music on. The kind of music that, to sleep or you hear in spas and things like that. Well, they actually work with our brain waves. And so there's a reason why you step into a spa and before the therapist touches you already feel comfortable. They have a sensual, they have the music going, they have a very calm, soothing atmosphere. So we can create an atmosphere for ourselves that is calming and soothing.
That's a good point.
Or what's that?
That's a good point.
Yeah. Or we can create an atmosphere for ourselves that allows us to release that energy. So blasting really good music, enjoy, dance, have some fun. Remember that fun and laughter, that's what we're made to do. Have a great time, have fun. And, so either doing one of those two things, that whatever you need in that moment, honor that, and really be able to live into it. And then, there's we could go on, right? We can go on. You could do, exercise, like for a lot of people, even if it, like you said, a walk, but for me, it's been my strength training. So I'll go into my room and go to a gym. I just go into my room and I have maybe 3 sets of dumbbells and some resistance bands. And I just do my own workout and I do what works for me. So it's not even where, we can all make excuses of what could and couldn't do, but find things that do work and lean into them. Use them as your coping mechanisms. Exercise for me is a big thing. If I'm not doing it regularly, then I know that I'm feeling my best. So, you feel what works for you. I mean, read something that isn't about COVID, isn't going on in the world. Read a fantasy novel. Read something you've been wanting to read for a long time, but just have been putting it off, something like that. like you said, journaling and setting daily intentions. You know, we can wake up in the morning and think, how do I want this day to go? What's my message? What's my purpose? What's the thing that I want to achieve today? Or the way that I want to feel today? What's my intention? What do I want to set forth? You know, and really just keep putting that out there and reminding yourself, essentially.
Yeah. And the other thing too that I've been practicing through all this is listening to my intuition. So that goes along with, you know, feeling the feelings and all of that. But, you know, we do have this kind of inner knowing, and, you know, it's like you get that feeling in the pit of your stomach when you feel like something's not quite right, or, you know, that's your body telling you something. So I really invite everyone to, during this time, really, really tune into their body in all ways, especially your intuition. And, you know, we can listen to the news all day long, but you need to ask yourself, does this feel right to me, right? And does that resonate with me? And really investigate that. And again, when you're having a conversation with someone and they're saying something, how is it making you feel in your body and why, right? So yeah, and just getting up into your heart as much as you can, whatever you can, you know, hugging your pet, hugging your kids. I know we're not supposed to hug anymore, but I threw that right out the window.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and that was actually one of the things I had on here too, was, you know, it is your intuition. And I think that is so key. What I want to elaborate on is being strong in your intuition. And that does not mean putting it, or your beliefs, and putting it onto somebody else. It means saying, this is how I feel, and this is okay. Giving yourself permission to say, this is what I believe, and I'm okay to believe this, and I'm okay to feel this, and that's my right. And I don't have to go with what everyone else thinks or believes, and I don't have to do what everybody else says, because this is my choice and my family and my choice. And those conversations with, especially if some people that are married, like with spouses, you know, have those deep conversations to say, what do we feel best for the family unit? What do we feel best, you know, for us individually? Because that could be different on an individual basis, even within, you know, spouses or partners.
Yeah.
So, and understand where each other's coming from and what each other's wants are, and be okay with how you feel, and be okay with how they feel. Allow them to have their beliefs and their feelings, and respect that and honor that, and say, and even if you're conflicted within yourself and you're like, 1 minute you want this and next minute you want that, next minute, should I do this or should I do that? Because there is so much conflicting information. Just say, I'm okay with how I feel about my decision right now. That could change tomorrow. That can change next week. That can change in a year's time. But right now, at this moment, I feel good with with my decision, with whatever that.
Yeah. And for some people, that takes a lot of work to get to that peace with it, right? And, you know, I think you said to me when we started talking about this is, what do you want your life to look like after this? Like, you know, there's going to be before COVID and after COVID probably. And, you know, we have to start planning, like, what do we want it to look like from here on, right? Do you want to approach your life differently? Do you want to approach your health differently? You know, do you want to approach your neighbor differently? And the last thing we all want to do is trash each other to the end of the earth, to where there's nothing left. And you're living in a community now where you have people that don't like you, or enemies, or, you know, you've burned so many bridges, or I just, you know, I really worry about our community, because we're so small here in Bermuda, and I don't, you know, people may be watching from elsewhere, but, you know, when you live in a small community like this, it's even more so that you have to really protect those relationships, and, you know, have respect and compassion for differences.
Absolutely, because we all have different feelings and ways. And it's funny, because people that I absolutely love, friends, you know, they have views and different opinions, and they're very strong in their different opinions. And I be just as strong, but not pushy. And I think that's what it is. We're strong to ourselves. We need to just have that conviction within ourselves, but not push it on to other people. I don't believe that's what we're meant to do. I think we should all have our own and be okay, but also protect those relationships if they are ones that should be protected. This is a time where you can say, okay, I love you, but I'm going to believe what you believe, and I respect that, but I don't have to agree, and we don't have to talk about it if we get to where we that are talking about it is not actually healthy.
Yeah,
you can talk about it to a degree that it's healthy, but once it becomes unhealthy and argumentative, and then you say, you know, I want to go back to talking about things that we enjoy, that have always enjoyed, always, you know, been on the same page, or whatever the case is, why we're friends, why we are two human beings is always connected, and then all of a sudden this one thing, and evaluate the situation, say, is this a relationship that I'm willing to risk losing over COVID, over the vaccines, over whatever, you know,
yeah,
internal conversation, even with them or with yourself first. You know, is this something one that I want in my life, and how do I address that correctly? And you know, maybe you just don't talk about the things that are gonna, if it's always going to be a negative conversation.
yeah, absolutely.
And what was the other thing I was gonna? Yeah, and then we were gonna give everyone some really good other questions we can talk about too, right? Some other questions that we can ask ourselves during this time. Like one, which is kind of just what what do you want your relationship to look like when this is kind of, when we're back to normal or in a different normal? What do you want your relationships to look like? You know, what do you want to keep those relationships sacred, those friendships, your neighbors, your family members? Like,
yeah, and you know, it may be some relationships do drop off because you're seeing a different side of a person that you don't necessarily can embrace, right? Like, unfortunately, some people are showing some really ugly parts of themselves, and not that they should be just discarded, but you know, it's just, there's going to be healing needed. So and that could be one of the questions as well, is what do you need to heal in your own life, you know, whether it be physical, mental, emotional, spiritual. There's healing on every level.
And I think global healing. I think we are in a place where we are dealing with so many different things right now. It's not just a pandemic. You know, we could go on to so many different topics and so many different things that are causing, there's a lot of, and bring about a lot of conflict, you know. And I think that it's a healing that's happening, because really and truly, for healing and growth to occur, something has to be stirred up first. Something has to come out. Something has to, you know, to come forth, you know. So once we kind of deal in and deal with in passion and love, then we can start the healing process properly. We can get through into our healing state when we're in a healing frame of mind, you know. And so we can ask ourselves, like, what ways do we want our health to improve? Like you said, you know, what ways do we want, and work with people. If you don't know how to do that, there's people like us that can absolutely help you to work with your health, your habits. You have a lot of great practitioners who, you know, work with your energy or your spiritual. There's so many people that are there and are ready and willing to assist, because that's our life, that's our passion, and that's what we're here and our purpose and do. And I truly think that we're the people now, we're sitting back a little bit, or we have to sit back and taking it all and looking, saying, oh, how can I serve, like you said earlier, how can I best serve, how can I best serve going forward? And I really think that is important for us as people that, you know, work in those sort of service and coaching industries. We want to be able to show, hey, you know what, we can work, and we can, how we can do it. And another question is just putting yourself in someone else's shoes for a little bit. You know, when you're feeling conflicted, if I was so and so, what may be the things that, if you know their circumstances, and if they've said to you, hey, I really don't like, I can't travel right now. And like for me, that doesn't affect you. So that's not something that's a concern. But for somebody else, it's a big concern for them, especially if they want to travel to go see loved ones.
Right.
And, you know, I would then try and put myself into their shoes and say, well, if I were them, what would I be feeling? And so we try to understand from their of what they may be going through a little bit, have compassion to do that, right?
Right. Yeah.
So that's a thing that we could, tool that we could use, we can ask ourselves too, right? What if I were them, what would I be thinking and feeling?
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, maybe staying at home or working from home or getting a different view of your job or your home situation. Ask yourself, what have I learned that I need to change now? You know, like maybe the job is not working for you anymore, and that's part of your stress. Maybe your home life, and maybe now that you've spent a lot of time with the spouse or, you know, your partner, and you're realizing I'm in conflict constantly with this person. So it's like, what has come out of this that you need to change, you know, for your health?
Absolutely. So. And for every part of your life, you know? Yeah. You know, as much as we think it's a physical thing, it's not just physical, right? You know, it's physical, but it's also emotional, it's mental, it is our relationships, it's our careers, our purpose. All of that contributes to who we are when we're looking at our health, the whole being and the whole person, the whole spirit. And also protect ourselves. That was the other thing I was thinking. It's being able to understand that we are spiritual beings and we are energy, and being able to have some sort of protection for ourselves as we go out into this into people who have a lot of energy around them. They're projecting maybe negative energy.
Right.
Do we not take that on, or very realize if we're starting to take it on and move away from it, and use your boundaries? You know, maybe you say to someone, if they are really getting upset and worked up, and you say, you know what, much as I would really love to help you through this right now, or talk with you through this, talk about it in a calmer manner, or can we discuss in a different way, or maybe we don't have a conversation at all, and just find how you need to set boundaries so that you're protecting yourself well, right?
Yeah, that's huge.
Big time. Yeah. It's a conversation you and I could probably have for like all day long, I swear.
I know, like you said, we can go in that tangent or that tangent, but yes, you know, I want to put it out there too, that, you know, whether it's me or Claire, there's so many great practitioners on this island that can help you through this. And I know there's a lot of people on the other end of this that are going to need to get their health in order and are really realizing now how important their health is and their immune system, and also, you know, lose the stress weight and just get back in balance. So, and also I know mentally, you know, I'm sure the therapists are chock-a-block, but you know, so, but do that, please, everybody. Get the help you need wherever you find it, and also within yourself, helping yourself, because anything that is has bubbled up during this time and isn't addressed, it's going to fester and it's going to get worse, and it's going to turn into, you know, different things down the line. So that's one thing I just really want everyone to get themselves in order.
Absolutely, because it will. I mean, what we're going through, experiencing now, is going to have an impact. And what a lot of people don't realize, is, maybe they've just realized through this, is that how fragile our immune systems are because of the habits that we have and the things that we do and the coping mechanisms that we lean on, and how we can improve our immune system, which we now realize is quite important.
Yeah.
We have taken for granted before.
So important.
As well as all the other systems, you know, let's face it, we are one whole big body of little messengers and And even just down to the fact of, like, for me, a few years ago, taking toxic products in my home, because those can affect the way that our bodies, our little messengers, our endocrine little messengers, talk to each other, and how they can be disrupted. And hey, you know what? If my body's not working right and my immune system's compromised for it or whatever, you know, what are the things that you can step away from or clean up in your life? And maybe toxins is one of them.
Yeah.
You know, there's a whole factor, right? And that's why having these conversations with professionals that know how to help and assist you is going to be super beneficial, right?
Right. Yep. Yep.
I mean, we could talk about this, but
yeah. Well, we'll have to do some more.
Yeah. So
some different topics.
We'll have to do more for sure. So I just want to, I'll do a little finishing and you can do a little finish. So I just want to kind of finish with compassion. So being compassionate is a feeling or showing a sympathy and concern for others, right? So let's just lead with that. Whereas conflict, you know, a serious disagreement or argument, or being incompatible or clashing, right? So instead of the argumentative side of things, where can we be showing or feeling a sympathy or concern for others?
Right. And to tie into that is your compassion for yourself, your self-love. I mean, it's hard to have compassion for others if you don't have it for yourself. So that's where you need to start. Absolutely.
100%. You know, we need to take care of ourselves, just taking care of everyone else. You know, we absolutely have to protect ourselves. We have to care for ourselves, and wherever it's self-care, self-compassion, self-understanding, self-sympathy, whatever you need to help yourself through this in this time, helping to figure that is key as well in doing it.
Yep.
All right. Well, this has been a great conversation.
Yes, it has.
Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thanks for having me and for bringing it up, and let's do some more.
Absolutely. We'll do lots more. So I'll repost this we can repost it onto our walls. It can, you know, people can watch it later on. And so for everyone listening and watching, just to have a wonderful day and show love and compassion wherever you are. Thanks, Becky.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.